Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting it on that one. Hold on. I got another good one. You ready?
Yeah. Do it.
Got any good mouth sounds you want to share with the audience?
Not really.
You sure? This could be your time to shine. Imagine the mouth sounds you could be sharing right now. Well, all right. I guess we'll just start then.
I think I'll share the mouth sounds of this delightful visual novel.
All right. Soft footsteps reverberated between the corridor's walls as my heels slipped out of the slippers and hit against the floor with every step. The sound disappeared as I slowed my pace. The sun was still high in the west sky. A long ridge extended in the background of the west ward. The sky, its hue a warm mixture of yellow, crimson, and purple, stretched above it. It was still relatively bright outside. This was the time when the interior lights would begin to flicker on. As I observed the patterns in the artificial light cast on the windowsill, I tried humming the tune I'd heard in the shopping district with Mayuko, but I couldn't remember the melody. In the end, it came out as a bit of a mess. I gave up and realized my heels were hitting against the floor again. I knocked on the night duty room's door.
Hey, Mayuko! Sorry, I had to find the voice again.
I opened the door to find the room dark and empty. Removing my slippers, I stepped inside and flipped the light switch. However, even after pulling the string dangling from above, the room remained dark. I flipped the switch on the wall again, and this time the lights came on.
Oh, great.
I let out a sigh and continued to the kitchen while stretching my hands. I filled the kettle with water, placed it on the stove, and lit the flame below it. Then I rose on my tiptoes to open the cabinet above me. After confirming its contents, I closed it back up. Next, I opened the cabinet located further into the kitchen, took out a pack of sweet bean jelly from it. It seemed to have hardened over time, chopped it into small pieces, then placed them all on a small plate. I grabbed a pack of toothpicks from the shelf and stuck one onto each plate. As I removed 2 teacups from the shelf and finished washing the knife, a continuous high-pitched sound began filling the room. Thank you for the Foley work. I filled the teapot with green leaves and freshly boiled water and placed it on the tray, right next to the teacups and the pieces of hardened sweet bean jelly.
I figured you needed a continuous high-pitched noise.
No, I appreciate it. I wasn't kidding. Thank you for the Foley work. Just as I finished parting the curtains and placing the tray on the table, something black abruptly passed through my field of vision.
Whoa!
The tray clattered on the table as I staggered backwards a bit. Following the black thing with my gaze, I realized it was a butterfly that had somehow found its way into the room.
And how did you get in here?
I glanced at the white flower vase on the windowsill. I couldn't decide which one I wanted to go with.
Yeah.
The butterfly landed on the dried up camphor tree branch. Ugh.
I see.
I took the notebook from the shelf. The butterfly passed right by my face again. I followed it with my gaze as it flew toward the ceiling, its black, blue-striped wings vigorously fluttering in the air. I sat down on the reddish-brown futon, placing the notebook on the table while resting my chin on my palms and continued observing the butterfly. Getting tired of it after a while, I opened the notebook. I realized I was beginning to treat it very carefully. After all, I now knew it belonged to Sachiko. It almost felt like she was telling me about the past I had forgotten. September 22nd, 1975. The clouds that had been covering the sky since early in the morning began to shower the ground with rain come noon, forcing us to change up our plans of playing outside and instead settle for a game of musical chairs inside. Is that the first time we've been giving a definite date and not just an implied one?
I think it is, and it also definitely puts us in the it's impossible that this is when this was really a sanatorium thing.
Yeah. At least historically from what we understand.
Yeah, unless those are also wrong, which they could be.
The children circled around a bunch of chairs as a simple piano melody played in the room. As I failed to grab a chair in the first round, I was now watching them play from the sidelines. Takako was still with the others, alert and ready for the song to stop playing at any second. She had a dead serious expression on her face, reminding me of cowboys during quick draw scenes in western flicks. The music suddenly stopped. The children dashed toward the chairs. Takako was the first to react and started toward the closest one, but due to her position, she was further away and from either of the chairs than the children around her. Takako gave up on the chair to the left, seeing how a boy had almost already reached it. Instead, she twisted her body and leapt toward the chair to the right. She crashed into the shoulder of the boy who was about to sit down on it and swept him away before ultimately landing on the chair. The chair tilted to the side and two of its legs, but Takako managed to balance it back down. That day marked her first ever victory in a game of musical chairs. Her eyes sparkling in triumph, Takako received a golden origami medal from the nurse.
Ha! Yeah! Who's the chair queen now, bitch?
She spent the rest of the day with that thing dangling from her neck. Takako's mother was the first to show up when it was time for us to go home. Before leaving, Takako handed the medal to me. I watched it sparkle in the evening sun up until my parents came to pick me up.
I felt a bit sleepy as I finished reading that short passage.
Oops. I forgot I'm narrating without outside the voice. The butterfly was still flapping its black wings and was now flying in the direction of the closed window. I thought it would crash into the glass, but it slowed down just a few centimeters before that, instead landing on the curtain.
You tired?
Or perhaps it was sulking at the fact that it couldn't escape.
Just chill a little bit, alright? I'm tired as well. Besides, it wouldn't be nice if you to leave without even saying a word to Mayuko now, would it? You see, in human society, debts need to be repaid, even if it's just food and shelter. Don't you think that should apply to butterflies as well?
It seemed as though the insect had shaken its head. It had its gaze fixed on the white vase, specifically the pupa still attached to a leaf on the camphor tree branch.
Well, I guess your situation is a little bit different.
The butterfly remained still, seemingly considering my words. Perhaps it was really sulking about not being able to go outside, but why did it? I assume it wanted to go there to begin with. I gave it another scrutinizing look.
Well, I can understand how you feel. I mean, imagine it feels a lot better to fly in a wide open space surrounded by fresh air. There are flowers with honey you can eat. And if you're lucky, you might even find someone to have children with.
The butterfly slowly spread its wings as if trying to say that it didn't need to state the obvious.
It's not all fun and games outside. If you're unlucky, you might get eaten by a bird or trapped in the web of a spider. If it rains, your wings would get moist and you'd have trouble flying. You'll face no such dangers in here.
The butterfly remained still with its wings spread. Perhaps it was thinking. Or maybe the way it showed off the blue lines on its wings meant to convey agreement.
I'll bring you I'll bring you a fresh flower if you stay. That's the least I can do for you.
The butterfly slowly closed its wings.
Or would you rather go outside after all?
It spread its wings again. I thought I gave it a pretty good deal, but the butterfly didn't seem all too fond of it.
All right then. But you'll still have to wait until Mayuko comes back.
I glanced out the window. The evening sky, with hues of yellow, crimson, and purple mixing into its canvas, loomed above the gentle mountain ridge in the distance.
I'm sure she'll be back before dark.
I placed one of my hands on the notebook and rested my chin on the other.
Humans tend to stay with each other, but about butterflies.
Returned my gaze to the butterfly.
Maybe you'll change your mind come morning. Sanai said that it gets comfortable staying in the same place once you get used to it.
The butterfly remained completely still with its wings spread. Perhaps it was waiting for the window to open. It seemed like it wanted to soar the high skies. Remember how I likened Sanai to a fish before drifting up to sleep once. Although fish swim in the sea while butterflies soared through the sky. Besides, back then I was thinking about which place Sanai had adapted to, rather than where she wanted to be. Remembered how she had asked me if I wanted to leave. It was nice to eat snacks with Mayuko, read books with Sanai, and make fun of Kozue from time to time. The Christmas party had turned into a fond memory. If I kept arranging events like that from time to time, I figured I'd never feel bored. I was certainly satisfied enough with this place to recommend it to the butterfly. Sanai said that she lost any reason to go outside. I felt like I could understand what she meant now, more so than back then. I touched my ears. Maybe I'd soon be able to breathe underwater as well. I felt like I would if I remained in this place for a little while longer. I'd turn into a fish, not a butterfly. I was slowly getting used to the serene life in here, that much was certain. Was that a good or a bad thing? I didn't know whether I wanted to stay here or leave. No wonder I couldn't understand the butterfly. It stayed still with its wings spread out. I fell in thought, gazing at the dazzling blue stripes on them.
Staying here would be the easiest choice, but...
It would require little effort on my part and contained no risks. But I looked at the darkening sky, feeling my head growing heavy. I raised my chin from my palms, lowered my hands on the table, and instead placed my left cheek on them. Finally, I dug my fingers into my hair to support my head. This position was the result of many years of experimenting and research. It had served me well since my school years, and continued to be of use even after I joined society as a working adult. Though it was easy to do on the neck and arms, it would mess up my hair, so there was still some room for improvement. I closed my eyes, savoring the comfort it provided me with. My exhausted body was on the verge of drifting off to sleep. However, much like last time, a butterfly hand sign in the form of a fish appeared in my mind's eye.
Can't believe I'm actually treating this butterfly business so seriously.
Perhaps I relaxed a bit too much.
What's it like me to doubt myself or be tired to begin with?
I felt the sensation of the notebook's leather cover against my skin. The Takako I read about was always energetic and pursued her goals straight as an arrow. Her mind was clear and she always knew what she wanted. She might have been a bit of a dunce at times, but it was all very endearing. Reading through the diary gradually made my memories return. It had things I'd forgotten and things I didn't know at all. Those passages contained mere glimpses into my life, but remembering them brought back other memories as well. They made me recall certain episodes of my life in striking detail, right down to the various sense experiences on a given day. And whenever I thought back to my feelings from those times, I'd feel a smoldering fire come back to life deep within my heart. Sachiko brought back feelings of anxiety and uneasiness I had long forgotten. My memories of her warmed and brought the rusted mechanism of my heart back to life, almost like they were repairing the missing cogs of the contraption, returning them to their intended positions. And yet this was but a small insignificant agitation of my heart at best. It was no more significant an action than an ant climbing upon an elephant's back, or the faint ripples caused by a pebble thrown into a pool of water. If I closed the notebook, the feeling would vanish, as if it was never there to begin with. Sanai said that the more she got used to this place, the harder it became to leave. Back then I didn't think much of it, and yet, now I couldn't tell whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I put those two on imaginary scales. The arrow continued to point to 0, refusing to move. But that wasn't enough of a reason to leave.
I do want to meet Sachiko one more time before I end up stuck here forever.
I was sure that meeting her would help me remember everything and would fix the ringing in my ears as well. Should I remain here or not? I might find the answer to that question if I met her.
I have to see her.
As I found myself lost in those thoughts, the fish and the butterfly slowly drew away from the back of my eyelids. So I've been thinking about one other thing.
Yeah.
When did we... Does the childhood of Takako in the diary match up with the childhood of Sachiko? From what we know about her childhood. Because remember, she said that, like, last time she was having what we thought was a flashback to her childhood, she would mention that it was a dream and wasn't necessarily real. Was Takako even her childhood friend? Or is it just someone she fell in love with after reading their diary while... I think it's pretty clear that Sachiko and Narasaki, the version at the hotel at least, are probably the same person. But do we even know if if Sachiko had a childhood with Takako?
I don't know.
Worth thinking about. Anyway, wake up! My bedsheets got pulled away by some mysterious force. The warm morning sun burned my eyes.
Just 5 more minutes.
Your coffee will get cold.
The hand I extended toward the source of the voice fell limp onto the bed.
I can't fight gravity.
Thinking that made me feel even weaker.
My body is getting heavier and heavier. Oh, at this rate, I'll start to sink into the mattress and create a black hole, sucking in everything around me, light included.
That's amazing. Why not pitch it to the physics conference? Anyway, quit goofing around and get up already. We're leaving as soon as you get dressed.
Oh, but black hole. Don't wanna.
I reached out and pulled the first thing I grabbed to myself. Sachiko fell on top of me. Opening my eyelids, I saw her black eyes staring back at me. I raised my neck slightly and kissed her lips. Once again blinded by light as she pulled her head, and thus her curtain of dark hair, away from me. A moment later, she hurled her handbag at me.
They say this helps people with low blood pressure. Oh.
They say this helps people with low blood pressure.
Then get out of bed already.
All right.
I totally thought she was just like, they say this helps people with low blood pressure. It throws objects at her.
Right? Oh my god.
That'll get your blood pressure up.
As Sachiko climbed out of bed and got changed, I handed her the bag resting on my knees.
Your fried eggs are on the table.
Oh, I love you, Sachiko.
Yeah. Great.
Sachiko left the room. I jumped out of bed and stepped out onto the corridor.
Yeah, great. Hold this for me.
Sachiko handed me her bag again. She then bent her knees and leaned down, letting the slit of her skirt reveal her thighs. Her long eyebrows painted beautiful half-arcs on her lowered face. Her long, flowing hair slipped down her shoulders, prompting Sachiko to try and pin it next to her ear.
Thanks.
She raised her face and smiled at me as she finished putting on her shoes. My vision began to clear up, dispelling my prior drowsiness. I woke up with such keen senses that I felt I could hear the very blood pumping through my veins. I raised my face and rubbed my eyes, only to realize that a blanket slid down from my shoulders. I saw Mayuko sitting in front of me, sipping tea from one of the cups I brought over.
Oh, was I sleeping?
You were.
I see.
You've got a mark here.
Mayuko pointed at her cheek. I rubbed my cheek with one hand and brushed my mouth with my knuckles.
You were sleeping like a baby.
Oh, you could have woken me up instead of staring, you know.
I was worried you'd be angry if I interrupted a nice dream.
I wouldn't get angry over something like that.
I told her she was free to wake me up next time. I looked around the room. It had already grown dark outside. The sweet bean jelly plate was covered up by a blue sheet with white dots. Picked my teacup up and took a sip of the cold tea. I glanced up at the ceiling, but the black butterfly from before was nowhere to be seen. A white vase with an empty pupa rested on the windowsill by the open window.
Oh, did the butterfly leave?
It flew off toward the mountains as soon as I opened the window.
Oh, I see. So it was courteous enough to wait for you at least.
Mayuko gave me a puzzled look.
What kind of species it was?
I think it was a common blue bottle.
Oh, so that's what they were called.
Oh, did we swap?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh?
I spot them around here from time to time.
They're found all across Japan. Depending on the season, you might catch a glimpse of them in Tohoku or even Kyushu.
You seem to know a lot about them.
It's a species I'm particularly fond of. I mean, just look at how beautiful their blue stripes are.
Is this a Zhuangzi thing? Are we gonna get all butterflies dream up in here? It's a little played out, don't you think?
Mayuko smiled. I nodded.
I like that blue color too. I remember spending an entire day chasing after one with an insect net when I was little. Flew off to the other side of the river though, so I ended up never catching it.
I'm sure it was for the best for the butterfly, at least.
You don't think about these things too deeply when you're little. I just remember that I really wanted it because it looked different from the rest of the swallowtail butterflies that I was used to seeing. I actually spent a couple of years after that thinking I still wanted to get my hands on one.
So, how did it feel to finally succeed?
I was glad to see it from up close. For a moment, I felt like a child again.
And that made you sniff out my sweet bean jelly I've been keeping for a later date?
Eh.
She pierced a piece of the jelly with a toothpick.
Well, I did that before finding the butterfly.
And then I imagined there was a little need for the butterfly to make you feel that way.
I smiled as she gave me a reprimanding look.
Well, it's all right, but there are some confectionaries I'm keeping for guests, so please ask before you take something next time, okay?
Okay.
You seem to have been in good spirits lately.
Well, yeah. I've had no fits since that last one.
If you're feeling that well, then perhaps I should assign you more duties.
Oh, this is so weird, but I suddenly feel incredibly sick. Oh, woe is Takako.
Good grief.
Oh no. Help, I'm dead.
Stop that. Don't.
I yawned and took another sip of the tea.
Are you still sleepy?
Mayuko smiled at me after eating a piece of jelly.
Can't say I'm fully rested, to be honest. And I had a dream, too.
You were talking in your sleep.
Ugh, really?
What kind of dream did you have?
From the time I was living with Sachiko. Mostly just dull little things like frying eggs in the morning or seeing her off at the entrance as she left for work.
I tried remembering more, but by the time I woke up, the whole thing had slowly melted away like sugar in warm water.
So she's the one you lived together with. Shifty eyes, shifty eyes.
As I answered with a quick,
Yep.
Mayuko seemed to fall in thought for a moment.
Do you still love her?
I don't know. I loved her more than life itself before we separated, but we're not together anymore. I can't tell when she's not around.
I see.
Mayuko appeared to have fallen in thought again. Curious to learn what she was thinking, I strained my ears, almost expecting to hear her thoughts. Picked up a teacup and pretended like I was inspecting its bottom. I felt like I could hear the flapping of butterflies' wings. I stole a glance at Mayuko's face. She looked back at me, her eyes a bit narrower than usual. I wished it was a look of jealousy or merely an attempt to read my expression. Unfortunately, it was nothing so lighthearted. It was the look of someone concerned by something.
Did it say concerned or cornered?
Cornered. Interesting. Da 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 da. She looked just like Sachiko when she wanted to discuss something serious. In moments like that, I too would take care to watch what I'd say. Sachiko would always wait until I'd found the right words, no matter how long it took.
It's gotten pretty cold, hasn't it?
Said Mayuko after a long silence, like a fish leaping out from beneath the calm mirror-like surface of a lake. Mayuko stood up, walked to the corner of the room, and flipped the switch on the electrical heater. Its 2 pipes lit up in red. After confirming the amount of remaining water on her panel, she walked to the kitchen, returned with a cup, the contents of which she poured into the tank. I thought about Sachiko as I observed her. I had spent most of my life with her. I tried remembering the exact number of years. I met her 23 years ago. I could still remember that quite vividly. Okay. Dates. The moment I met her near that sandbox was when I was just 5, and then we finally separated. When we separated, I tried remembering exactly how that went down. Okay, so they met at age... So they are 28. Sakako's 28 at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
Which would put this around when we thought it was late 90s,
Yep.
early aughts. Trying to remember exactly how that went down, but I couldn't recall a single detail about it. It was like all my thoughts led me to a blindingly white room. But she was still someone I spent most of my life with. That alone was definitely true, and the diary I had now proved it. In all the entries, I was always by her side. The more I thought about it, the less I could understand why we ended up parting ways. Yeah.
Odd that.
Odd that. I'm sure it's fine, though.
Oh, Takako learning to confront the fact that she is dead.
Right? Also, do you notice the new version of the entry room here?
Oh, it's got the renovations now. The renovations from Sachiko's arc.
And it's got the oh my god, look at the bookcase there.
Yeah.
That's nice.
The bookcase was one of the things they were talking about adding.
Yep. I think that's more evidence for Takako was also part of this whole shebang theory.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had already established that like the eyes that they see the world through will affect what they see other people as. So.
Mm-hmm.
I met Kozue's eyes as I was about to pick up the stool in the lobby.
What are you doing?
She asked.
No, nothing. What about you?
Same here.
Kozue had my hairpin in her hair.
Oh, did you come to show off that hairpin?
Kozue raised her eyebrows in surprise.
Why would you even think that?
No. Oh, anyway, you came at the perfect time. If you're not too busy, can you help me out a little?
Kozue's gaze traveled to the grandfather clock. I heaved the stool on my shoulder and gestured for her to come closer.
It won't take long.
I ascended the spiral staircase. Kozue followed me in silence. I stopped in the middle of the stairs, placed the stool below one of the lights, kicked off my slippers, and climbed on it.
Could you hold it for me?
Kozue placed her hands on the stool to steady it. I reached out to the lamp and seized its light bulb, screwed it out of the socket, and put it in my pocket. Then moved the other light bulb from my mouth to my hand, screwed that into the socket instead.
You're like an electrician.
Actually, I'm grass type. Actually, I got the qualification for this kind of work back in school. I'm the real deal.
Really?
I can fix most anything when it comes to electrical systems.
My light keeps randomly turning off.
You mean the light in your room?
Yes.
I'll give it a look once I'm finished with this one.
Thank you.
I stepped down from the stool and carried it to the next light. Once again, Kozue helped steady it for me. Climbed back to my stool and reached under the lampshade. Sitting on the tripod, I unscrewed the seal of the ceiling. Pulled back a bunch of wires and found one with a damaged insulation. The door opened as Kozue returned with Mayuko. Why are we suddenly getting so many more establishing shots of this place in this one chapter? You notice that?
Yeah, I wonder if it's deliberately for the reason that it's supposed to be clearer what's going on now, so they're showing us more.
Got it. So we're supposed to be, they're expecting us to, like, keeping up with this, putting stuff together.
Yeah, like this room looks subtly different than it did before, but it also looks like the same room as Sanai's room.
Yep.
And blah, blah, blah. So maybe they're just going to keep tossing this at us more and more until it, before it actually comes right out and says it.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Mayuko asked, looking up at me from below.
These wires don't seem to be in very good condition. Rats might have gotten to them, or maybe they just deteriorated due to the salt in the air. But it'd probably be a good idea to call a professional.
I see.
I returned the wires to their place and screwed the seal back on. Mayuko turned to Kozue.
How long has it been since you moved into this room again? About half a year or so.
Now that's strange, because she doesn't live in here
in the other two's arcs.
But then again, we only saw Narasaki walk her home, and we can't really trust Narasaki's POV, since it's probably not her.
Yeah, I mean, we can't trust Sachiko's either, so I think we just
God
can't
damn
trust
it.
anything.
If we can't trust the white text, what can we trust?
I suppose it's the perfect time to change rooms then.
Kozue nodded.
Takako, I'll prepare a new room for Kozue, so in the meantime, could you help her pack?
Sure thing, boss.
Thank you very much. Anyway, just give me a few hours.
Mayuko left the room.
Well then.
I looked around the room with only a single bed and a lone shelf inside. A tripod stood in the middle, a few crumbles of plaster from the ceiling lying beside it. Kozue slid the glass partition on the shelf open and began taking out the books. I folded up the tripod.
The books, you say?
The books.
The books that were in the shelf in Sanai's room?
What? Weird.
Maybe
Is it? No, that might be a stretch.
Yeah, maybe it is a
'Cause,
stretch. Maybe they
under
just
our initial-
both have the
under
same
our-
shelf. And
Guess Sanai would be a stand-in for Auntie.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll bring the cleaning tools, so go collect your stuff in one place for now.
Kozue had very few things, only a handful of books and some clothes. She put everything into the small cardboard box Mayuko brought over and carried it over to the other room with her. Meanwhile, I cleaned the empty room and decided to move back to the night duty room after finishing. Before closing the door, I turned around once and gave the empty room a quick look. A space that had been Kozue's just moments before now had no trace of her left.
Funny that.
Gee,
Shame if that were to keep happening or something.
Yeah, it would be a real shame if that was very poignant for
Oh
some
my
reason.
god, who the fuck are you?
Okay, so I was wrong about the
Yeah,
conflation between Kozue and Sanai.
Yeah.
Where did you find it?
Sanai raised her face from the book and gave the case I held a look.
I borrowed it from Kozue's room.
It was a transparent rectangular case filled with water, an old toy.
Yeah?
Yeah? Had colorful pictures of fish on it and a bunch... Because it was in Kozue's room because it'd been given... Ah! Yeah, okay.
Wait,
yeah.
what? In Kozue's room because what?
Wasn't it given to her?
Yeah, she was the one who mentioned having the toy and being unable to find it.
colorful pictures of fish on it and a bunch of plastic red rings inside, and on the bottom there was a big plastic coral. You could push a button to create water current and send the rings swirling around inside. I managed to get some on the coral. I pushed the button harder, wanting to get a ring that fell far to the side, but the strong current ended up sweeping the rings I'd already collected aside as well.
Speaking of which room did Kozue move to?
I think she moved to room 429.
No?
What?
Never heard that song? Okay, well, maybe
What?
that's... Alright, I'm gonna have to...
Yeah, the world ain't so unkind, huh? I think it was the corner room on the 3rd floor of the western wing.
I see.
Remember that detail?
Sane stared at me with the finger stuck in her closed book.
That look good?
Yes, I'm only halfway through, but would you like me to tell you about it?
Oh my god, is it only halfway? Is it really only halfway? No need, just lend it to me once you're finished, alright?
Okay.
Sane nodded.
Huh? You're hurt, Takako?
She pointed at my elbow.
Oh,
Sane took out a Band-Aid box from the closet by the bed.
guess I brushed it against something.
How could you not notice something like that?
Sane stopped in front of me, ripping the Band-Aid seal off.
Move around and get hurt a lot, so my brain probably doesn't even register small things like this anymore. You know my motto, move fast, break things, mostly me.
I raised my elbow in front of her, which prompted Sane to put a Band-Aid on it.
You could use some exercise yourself, Sanai.
I agree, but it's not so easy when you're small and frail like me.
How about jogging?
I get out of breath just climbing the stairs.
Nah, if you want something effective, but not too draining, how about swimming?
I don't know how to swim.
Seriously? The sea's a rock's throw away from here.
People actually swim in there?
Of course they do. Don't tell me you've never been to the sea before.
What do you even do at the sea?
You can swim, play beach volleyball, look for seashells and crabs, build sandcastles, or even collect glass stones. Stuff like that.
Glass stones.
Waves can sometimes make glass from sand, which results in translucent stones. Ever seen any before?
No.
They come in different colors, too. Remember collecting a whole bag of them when I was little. You hold them out under the sun, they shine in various different colors.
Sounds like it'd be very beautiful.
Oh, it is. Back at my old place, I had them lined up along with the seashells on the shoe cabinet. One of my relatives made this mosaic picture by sticking them to a canvas. I mean, not professionally or anything. It was more like part of a school project, I think. By the way, it was scenery of colorful fish swimming in the blue ocean. Whenever I went to visit those relatives as a child, they hang it above their shoe cabinet, too. It was about this big as well.
I gestured with my hands, conveying the dimensions of a piece of A4 size of paper.
The brick joke comes slamming in for a landing.
What?
There were a couple times when you randomly we cut in with something and it cuts into Takako finishing a conversation and it was this big.
Yeah, you're right. I did do that. Oh my god, you're right. Oh, I'm prophetic. That's what I choose to believe.
That sounds a bit like a stained glass window.
Yeah, sort of. Honestly, I wanted to make something like that myself, but I only just now remembered it.
You've been fond of creating things all your life, haven't you?
Yeah, even during the pottery club back in elementary school.
What did you make there?
I remember making a vase and an ashtray. I didn't have enough clay, so my vase ended up too small to stick a flower on. But I shaped it like a tulip instead, which turned out to look pretty nice. So I liked it. It wasn't me, but the teacher that made the final glazing, so it ended up brown. Makes me wonder if they had no red dye at all. The ashtray was a present from my grandfather. I noticed he didn't have one at home. Used it for quite some time after that. Always made me happy to see it on their table when I went to visit. They didn't smoke, though.
A pottery club sounds like fun. It's nice to actually have something tangible after all your efforts. Did you make anything else?
I actually made a bookmark if that counts. Fill a little bucket with water, threw your watercolors in. Colors mixed in all sorts of patterns. You get something cool looking if you let a piece of paper float and soak in it for a while.
Oh, I remember doing that in the past.
Also made a hand for paper mache.
I remember doing that too. It's where you use some thick wires for the base skeleton, coil some string around that, and then add the paper mache, right?
Yeah, you got it. We made masks, kites, stamps.
Back in school, I made stamps in carving class. I really liked how mine came out. I made it have a flower pattern.
But often the teacher warns you, there's always someone who gets hurt in that class.
My woodworking class injury story.
Oh yeah, hit me.
Someone got a serious injury in mine in middle school, and it was the teacher himself. He managed to get a pretty deep stab from a screwdriver, I think it was, in his hand.
Screwdriver?
Yeah, it was like, I think he was like trying to fix something or like wedge a screwdriver into something, and it slipped and just like bam, right in the hand.
Oh no, that's no good.
It's like, oh, the person teaching the safety practices was the one who needed the safety practices. Oh no. Oh, he was fine though.
We didn't have any injuries in my woodworking class in middle school. Although someone made a knife out of wood. It didn't really do much, but they tried.
Did they by any chance go on to start a YouTube channel about making knives from unusual substances?
They didn't. They didn't. Wait, are we making a reference here? I don't.
Have you not seen recommendations from that YouTube channel?
No, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Like sharpest kitchen knife made out of paper, etc., etc.
No,
there's someone who that's their shtick.
Oh, okay. As a rule, I try to just not YouTube.
You say while recording an episode for that very site.
Hey. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy YouTube, but I try to be very careful about what I watch on it. The moment you let its recommendations start sucking you in, then it's like, oh god, suddenly you're in a part of the internet you don't want to be at.
Anyway, it's a bad idea to place your hand in front of the blade.
Wait, wasn't I supposed to be saying that? It's a bad idea to place your hand in front of the blade.
Better safe than sorry is what you have to keep in mind in that class. I have yet to ever cut my finger, even with a kitchen knife.
I showed her my hand.
Isn't that just because you never cook?
No, hey, I do cook sometimes. I even peel a potato with a knife.
Then peel an apple for me next time.
Sure thing.
I took her on. For a moment, Sanae's face looked like Mayuko's to me.
Interesting that.
Interesting that. It's almost like they might be related if they were on.
The other thing that I'm realizing, she's saying that she can peel a potato and never even cut herself, but is that what happens during the reflection, during the making curry for everybody for the Christmas party arc? Was she fine chopping the vegetables in that one? I thought I remembered she wasn't.
I don't recall. It's such a small detail. I don't remember.
I also might just be making this up.
Son of a bitch.
Is something the matter?
I just wondered about my position in this house.
Huh?
Anyway, yeah, I made a lot of things. I think about it, I made more stuff than I could even remember.
I wonder if children are still like that these days.
I wouldn't know. You can ask Kozue about it later, though.
For us, it might be a sweet memory, but for her, it's still school. I doubt she'll be able to consider it fun the way we do.
Son of a bitch. Now's the wrong time to drink some coffee. Yeah, school ruins a lot of things. Some of my most boring classes made it feel like time had just stopped.
Though we truly did touch upon a lot of things in school, didn't we? I mean, even if we're talking about art class, we made so many different things when we were there. But then life becomes far more monotone once you graduate.
Yeah, I continue to make things, though.
Now that you mention it, you worked as a designer, didn't you? Did you choose that career because you've enjoyed creating things ever since you were little?
Guess it's partly that, but Sachiko kind of enjoyed that work, too. If we were going out of our way to start new jobs, I figured we might as well choose something we could do together. Sachiko's really good at painting. She doesn't get as many avant-garde ideas as I do, but I could never compare to her in terms of raw technique.
I see you love her very much.
Yeah. Anyway, you want to go look for glass stones sometime?
That sounds nice.
I could decorate Kozue's room with them later. She had very few things.
That's a good idea.
Oh. There's no version of this that ends happily, is there?
I climbed all the way up to the 3rd floor of the western wing, then continued down the corridor. I opened the door to the corner room.
I'm coming in, Kozue.
Kozue had yet to receive her room key from Mayuko, meaning it couldn't have been locked.
Hey, don't come in without permission.
Don't be a buzzkill.
I'm not joking around, okay?
Kozue regarded me with a reproaching look. I shrugged and asked what she was doing. I could see the vast golden sky peek through the window. Kozue had been stooping by the shelf next to it.
Nothing. Did something happen?
She began returning the tower of books she had by her feet to the shelf.
Were you looking for something?
The last thing she placed on the shelf before finally sliding the glass door shut was a sheep-shaped clay figure.
Ah!
Sheep! Why?
I borrowed your toy with wings and fish, if that's it.
That's not what I'm looking for.
There's nothing in her room besides that shelf and a bag on her bed.
You left it in the previous room. I'll go take a look. Can you tell me what the thing is exactly?
Don't bother. It's nothing important.
Don't need to be shy with me. Is it something small enough for me to fit on the shelf, right?
I left the room, not waiting for any answer. I vaguely heard her say that I didn't need to bother. I walked down the corridor, descended the spiral staircase, and emerged on the 2nd floor. A large cloud was blocking the sun. The lights on the corridor lit up. Kozue's old room wasn't locked yet. With one hand still on the doorknob, I flipped the light switch. I waited a few moments, but the room remained dark. Deciding to wait no longer, I stepped inside. As I let go of the doorknob, the door closed behind me. I could no longer see a thing. I took out the flashlight I had prepared. A circle of light pierced the dark, monochrome room, returning some color to the place. A bed with white sheets, an empty shelf with a glass door. The room hadn't changed since I left it at noon. I checked the floor, the ceiling, and finally the window, but found nothing. My light split as it hit the window, dissipating into the dark forest beyond. I pointed the flashlight at the bed again, inspecting it from top to bottom. The room suddenly lit up as the flashlight let out a loud click. Then the light disappeared completely.
Oh, wait.
I shook the flashlight, but all it did was let out a weird buzzing sound. I clicked the button on the back of its shaft, removed its 3 batteries, changed them up, and returned them to their place. Pushed the light button again, but it still didn't work. Remember doing that with stuff that used batteries as a kid?
Yeah.
Can't get it to work? Just put the batteries in a different order. It'll probably work still. Giving up, I slid the flashlight into my pocket and walked to the bed. Reached up to the silhouette I saw right before the light vanished. My hand grasped only empty air. I instinctively drew my hand back and looked at it, but could only see the darkness. It was as though the silhouette had completely vanished. The window through which the moonlight had illuminated the room moments before had disappeared as well. The room had completely lost its colors and even contours. I blinked and pressed my fingers against my eyelids. Upon opening my eyes again, I realized that nothing much had changed. Extending one hand to help me navigate, I made my way toward the wall. 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps. I shook my head and waved my hand around. The wall should have been within my reach, but once again my hand grasped only air. I took another step, half step, and struck my leg forward. My toe suddenly touched something, making me stagger backwards. For steadying myself, I realized I could hear the wind. Cold, humid air caressed my cheeks. My ears rang as I gulped down the built-up saliva in my throat. For starters, I stuck up my right leg to examine the thing I had touched earlier. Through my slippers, it felt like a rock. When I grew conscious of that fact, I realized that my left foot was actually standing not on the floor, but on a similar rocky surface. I took a step forward, trying to feel the ground below me. As it did, it lit up in dim, warped monochrome. I strained my eyes to realize I'd been standing on volcanic rocks. I raised my face and lowered my hand, spotting a small light in the distance. It flickered in the darkness, looking like it could disappear at any moment. A gust of wind passed through the cave in a low-pitched howl. With careful steps, I began walking toward the light. As my eyes and ears began to grow accustomed to the area, I quickened my pace. I reached a puddle of water. As I raised my face, I saw someone by the light. Sachiko was sitting there with her back turned to me.
Sachi?
Was what I tried to utter. And yet my throat was too dry for me to make a sound. I quickened my pace. I looked up at Sachiko again as I hurried through the uneven, rocky ground. Her straight, long hair sparkled in the dim light. I could make out 2 eyes peering at me over her shoulder. They belonged to a small face I couldn't quite make out in the dark. Sachi. The small mouth moved as though uttering that word. Sachiko slowly turned around. The light flickered.
Takako.
I opened my eyes to a starlit sky.
You'll catch a cold sleeping here.
Oh, good morning.
I turned toward the direction of the voice to see Mayuko sitting on the edge of the bed with one hand placed on my shoulder. I moved my arm and heard it brush against the white sheets.
Yuko, I think the batteries of this thing are dead.
I took the flashlight out of my pocket and handed it to Mayuko.
Really?
Mayuko turned the flashlight in her hands and tried pushing the light button. The room lit up, making me reflexively close my eyes.
It seems to be working fine.
Well, I didn't when I needed it.
Maybe the batteries are almost empty and it's gotten unstable now. I'll change them later just in case.
Yeah, do that, please.
I raised my upper body so that I'd be at the same height as her. Growing dizzier by the second, I looked at Mayuko and the night sky extending behind her. Mayuko stood up as though trying to escape my gaze. She turned around and closed the open window.
Why were you sleeping in a place like this?
I glanced at the door, noticing the bright corridor beyond it.
I was away, forgot something in here.
I checked the room after you cleaned it. There was nothing here.
I didn't find anything either.
I turned and lowered my feet from the bed and into my slippers.
Are you going to Kozue's room?
I had to tell her I wasn't in this room.
We left the room together. Mayuko closed the door and locked it with the key from her pocket. I climbed the staircase of the western wing to the 3rd floor and continued down the corridor, careful not to let my slippers make any sound. I could see light coming from the gap at the corner room's door. I walked over to the door and swiftly opened it.
I'm back, Kozue.
Kozue raised her head from the book she was reading on her new bed and gave me an indignant glare.
I think I'll start locking my room.
Aw, this is how you thank me for looking for your stuff.
Kozue's gaze wandered for a second, but then soon returned to me.
So, did you find anything?
Don't tell me you've forgotten.
I sat down on the chair by the bed.
There's nothing in your old room, unfortunately.
I see.
Mayuko said she checked it, but didn't find anything either.
You can forget about it then.
Kozue turned a page in her book.
Wasn't it important, though?
It's not something I can't live without. How come it took you hours to check a single room?
Oh, were you worried about me?
No.
Oh, might be saying that, but I bet you wanted to check up on me. You were just too embarrassed to actually do it. And then you were worried that we might end up walking past each other.
How on earth could you arrive at that conclusion? I bet I could get a PhD just from examining how your head works.
You're not wrong. I could be your assistant. In Takako studies. I can only minor in it, though. I'm not really an objective observer, am I?
Kozue snorted and returned her gaze to the book.
Whatever, this is getting dumb.
Glancing out the window, I saw the mountains under the dark blue sky. The lights of the port town sparkled gently below them.
It was a lot better from the 3rd floor, huh?
If you have no more business with me, I would appreciate it if you left.
Mayuko said dinner's gonna be ready soon and was wondering if you care to join us on the 1st floor.
I see.
Both of them seem to fall asleep kind of at the drop of a hat, don't they?
Yeah, huh?
Go ahead without me, I'll go call Sanai.
Kozue had been descending the spiral staircase in front of me, turned around and nodded.
The sleep scene and so on also seemed like it was happening during the tunnel scene from earlier, where Sachiko is in the tunnel talking to Nanai. Where things also got weird for Sachiko when she was in the tunnel and was like, wait, did I see Takako in there? And it's like, oh, did she get disoriented and her two personas became aware of each other briefly, and this is how it got expressed in this version? Or something?
Maybe. It's fucking weird. I'm having trouble keeping track of everything in my head, I'll tell you that much.
Takako?
I heard a voice as I was about to knock on Sanae's door on the second floor. I turned in its direction, spotting Sanae at the end of the corridor.
Were you looking for me?
I came to invite you to dinner.
Oh,
She came closer to me.
can I come dressed like this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay then.
Sanae and I descended the stairs to the lobby. Kozue was there playing with a planet model on the counter.
I thought you'd already left.
You never told me where to go.
The tiny room, like always.
Okay,
Sorry, I should have told you.
it doesn't matter.
Kozue regarded me with sleepy eyes.
Follow me.
I turned back to the corridor and continued to the east wing. As I started humming, Sanae asked what kind of song it was.
It's something I heard a long time ago. Playing at Kozue just now reminded me of it.
It has a nice melody.
It's very bossa nova.
The stars, the moon, and the earth all go round and round. It's the same dining room.
Yeah.
It's the same dining room that Sachiko was in.
Which previously hasn't appeared in Takako's arc.
Yep. As I opened the door at the end of the west corridor, I found Mayuko placing plates from the service cart onto the table.
Need any help?
I'm almost done anyway, so better just wait at your seat.
In a room about twice the size of our bedrooms, there was a long table with 3 chairs on 2 of its longer sides. The many windows on the wall opposite the corridor gave all who would enter a wide view of the inner yard and the big camphor tree in its center. I lowered myself onto the chair near the windows. Mayuko, after finishing lining up the plates, sat down next to me.
Sudden fridge thought. Why the fuck is Kozue the one constant between all 3 routes? All 3 arcs?
I don't know.
She's just some person
she's
as
a
far as
kid.
we know.
I don't know, because she's a kid? I don't know. I have no idea why it's Kozue.
It's very weird.
That her connection to this whole story is tenuous at best.
Yeah.
I lowered myself onto the chair near the windows. Mayuko, after finishing lining up the plates, sat down next to me. Sanae and Kozue seated themselves in front of us.
Let's dig in.
With those words, we grabbed our chopsticks and began filling our plates. Dinner consisted of takikomi rice, chicken and mushroom sauté, sea bass, munere? I don't know how to pronounce that word. And salad with white sauce.
Do we have any pepper, Mayuko?
We do.
She lifted off a small wooden jar from the service cart.
What do you want to put it on?
Fish.
But I've already seasoned that.
It's okay. Becomes even better with more pepper.
Her expression. I tilted the pepper jar above my piece of sea bass. You know what? Munere? Yeah. Some pepper got into my nose. Meniere. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Mayuko was looking at me with a difficult expression.
Come on, pepper is a treasure of human civilization. Back in ancient times, it was worth its weight in gold. I'd use an entire bottle if I could.
That cost 300 yen at the supermarket, though.
I am glad to have been born in the modern age. This year that it is.
The fragrant smell of sauté reminded me of how hungry I was. I gobbled down everything on my plate in a matter of seconds.
You eat fast.
Said Kozue.
I move around a lot, so I get hungry fast.
You might get indigestion from wolfing down your food like that.
It's okay. I always eat like this.
I glanced at Mayuko's plate and saw how she still had a good chunk of her meal left.
Is there more?
No, that's all we had for today.
Aw, darn.
We don't go outside as much now that it's gotten cold, and it's easy to overeat during parties, so this is just the right amount to help us stay in shape.
You saying I got fat?
No, this is for everyone's health.
I don't care about my weight. I'd rather eat more.
You can have this if you want.
Sanae pushed her rice bowl toward me.
You sure?
No, Takako's diet already contains too many carbohydrates. Growth hormone secretion decreases when you sleep if your blood sugar level is too high, and you end up not feeling as rested as you should.
Really?
Yes, you shouldn't eat any more today.
Oh.
She handed me a white cup with coffee, which is going to help me rest instead. I drew the cup to my lips and took a sip. The bitter taste extended across my tongue, eliminating the aftertaste from the other dishes.
The appearance of coffee in Takako's arc is also new this time around.
Yeah. I noticed Kozue staring at me with absent eyes.
What?
Or rather, her eyes seemed to be gazing at something behind me. I turned around to see my own face reflected in the glass and then vaguely made out the camphor tree swaying in the darkened inner yard.
Did you see something there?
No.
Oh, did you remember my Christmas tree?
Sanae, gulping down the takomi rice, raised her face as well.
It was really beautiful.
Oh, we should have taken a picture.
We can do that next time.
Let's have a huge group picture and hang it up in the lobby.
Now there's a good idea.
That way it'll be great so everyone can see it and then we'll get confronted with some people that aren't us.
Yeah, this shot in particular is taken directly from...
Yup.
I felt my throat dry and took another sip of coffee. Mayuko elegantly picked up the last mushroom of her sauté with her chopsticks and put it into her mouth.
Are you familiar with glass stones, Mayuko? This has been kind of my obsession lately.
You mean those things you can find lying on the beach?
Yeah, Sanae said she'd never seen one.
Sanae nodded as both of our gazes fell on her.
I suggest we all go to the beach when it gets warmer.
To swim?
That's nice too, but I'd first have to teach Sanae. I know she knows how to swim.
Are you serious?
Sanae asked in a heavy tone.
It's okay. I'm an expert at swimming.
That's not what I meant.
Sanae tilted her head down, making her hair hide her eyes from us.
What do you think, Kozue?
I don't like swimming in the sea.
Why?
The water feels sticky and makes me sick.
How about go fishing then?
No thanks.
After diligently clearing her plate, Kozue placed her chopsticks upon the table.
Kozue, would you prefer tea or coffee? I'm Kozue.
You are Kozue,
Tea.
not me. Mayuko took out a teacup from the service cart, filled it up with tea, and then handed it to me. I took it from her hands and placed it in front of Kozue. For a moment, I looked at that sentence and I was filled with dread, and then the second was like, oh, okay. Passing it along to Kozue. I was like, oh God, no.
So what else can we do if neither swimming nor fishing works for you guys?
Why do you want to go to the beach anyway?
Because we can't go to Japan's Machu Picchu. I just do. Mayuko, what else is there to do at the beach?
Well, you can build sand castles or play beach volleyball. I've never done it myself, though.
She made a faint smile.
Oh.
That's...
I suppose you could also hold a barbecue.
That sounds good. I can catch all the fish on the spot.
Are we talking about fishing again?
I could catch them with my bare hands if that's what you prefer. Nah, grass types are good against water types.
I menacingly grabbed the air with my right hand, pretending to be some kind of woodland predator.
Is there anything else you'd like to do, Kozue?
Fireworks.
Well, that's good. We can do that when it grows dark. Let's buy a lot.
Just know that rockets are too dangerous, so I'm not allowing those.
Well, fireworks are okay. Don't tell me we'll have to make do with sparklers.
Anything that's sold in a store except the ones that leave pillars of flames.
Does that include parachute fireworks?
Well, parachute fireworks are probably okay.
Ha ha ha!
What's that?
Kozue cocked her head to the side.
It's a type of fireworks that has a parachute inside. After it explodes, the parachute comes gliding down.
That's right. Running around trying to catch those things is a hallmark experience of summer.
Last time I did that, All my parachutes got swept above the sea and I couldn't retrieve them. I'm not going to repeat the same mistake again.
Just be careful not to fall into the sea, okay?
I won't do that. I'm not a kid anymore.
Everyone's reaction to that. Oh, yeah. Doubt.
You act plenty childish from where I stand.
Goes away remark.
Speaking of the sea,
Said Mayuko at almost the same time.
I heard this when I was buying groceries, but apparently a steamship going around the world will be making a stop at our port sometime soon.
What? A steamship?
The grandpa from our usual cafe said it was a huge steamship.
Wow, that's really 1940s sci-fi. I didn't know people still use such ancient technology.
They do in the West, apparently.
Traveling around the world, huh? I wish I could do that too.
We could go have a look when it's here. Maybe we'll even get to hold those colored tapes. I'm not boarding it.
Said Kozue as Sanai silently placed her chopsticks on the table.
Yeah, I'd love to travel sometime. Really would love to get the chance to travel. It's too bad that Takako, have never gotten the chance to travel.
What? What's up? What? What's going on?
Takako.
Sanai and Kozue returned to their rooms after dinner.
And Sachiko Takako. Sachiko took their name.
Takako, and Sachiko Takako.
Like the same way, like the Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Takako.
Mayuko, busy washing the dishes in the kitchen, spotted me as I brought over the leftover plates and proceeded to thank me.
Where should I put them?
Just put them in the sink.
Okay.
I placed them down with a low clang. Mayuko picked up one of the plates and began brushing a bubbling sponge against it. She finished the 4 sets of plates in a couple of minutes and placed them on the drying rack. Though she seemed to be only lightly washing the plates, I had yet to see a single spot on any of the ones I ate from. There was something relieving about how she worked. Maybe I just got used to the sight.
You know,
I'm almost done. It's already late, so you should go to sleep.
okay.
I turned around before reaching the kitchen door and faced Mayuko's back.
What is it?
Mayuko asked without looking at me.
I'll sleep in my own room tonight.
Okay.
Night then.
Good night.
I lay down on my futon and closed my eyes, but I realized I wasn't sleepy. There was something bothering me. Remembered how I saw Sachiko in Kozue's room. I wanted to meet her again, but I didn't know what to do to achieve that. I turned on the desk lamp and picked up the notebook. There were only a few pages left now. September 23rd, 1975. The rays of the sun filtered in through the marmalade-colored western window of the kindergarten, elongating the shadows of the 3 of us inside. All the other children had already had their parents come pick them up. Meanwhile, we were still playing doctor. Takako was the doctor, Narasaki was the patient, and I just held a book that was supposed to be a medical record and stared at them. Takako was investigating the condition of Narasaki's belly. Narasaki, the doll. I think that confirms that, right? Like we suspected it, but...
Yeah, that seems fairly textual.
Yep. And so when they're saying the 3 of us, they're giving Narasaki, the doll, some agency as like a made-up friend, invisible friend, right? Yeah. That would seem to do that.
Does this stethoscope have a right and a wrong side?
I guess you should read the...
Takako turns to me. You're holding it correctly.
I see.
She took the stethoscope off and put it on the table. There was a whole lineup of toy medical tools on it, all to be used as part of the game. Takako looked over them for a second, and after a brief moment of hesitation...
You know what I've decided? I don't want to let propaganda steer me into a career I don't want. Oh, what's this one?
She picked up a spatula used to hold down the tongue. Ah, the nurse is looking. I turned around and saw the nurse looking our way. She picked up a plush bunny we left on the floor earlier and put it back into its box.
Oh, is she looking at us?
Yes. You seem to be a very untrustworthy doctor.
Aw.
I fear for your future patients if you ever actually become one.
Oh.
I think Narasaki's better at it than you, Takako.
Okay. We can switch if you want.
I put down the book that was supposed to be the medical record and took the stethoscope from Takako's hands. Then I lifted up Narasaki and placed her on my knees. So, where does it hurt? I voiced a question in a mature tone.
Where does it hurt?
Sorry.
Oh, I ate a poisoned apple.
That's probably Sachiko doing an aside.
Just like in the story we read today.
In that case, please show me your stomach.
Okay.
Takako pulled up her shirt, exposing her naked belly. I used Narasaki's hand to guide the stethoscope to it.
All right, turn around now.
Takako did as ordered, pantomiming a spinning chair.
There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with your lungs. All right, let's have a look at your throat now.
Takako spun her invisible chair again and opened her mouth.
Open wide. Yes, just like that.
I pressed the spatula into Narasaki's hand and used it to push Takako's tongue out of the way.
You're good at opening your mouth. I can see all the way to your tonsils. I have no idea what you're saying, though.
I appreciate your dedication to method acting that both times we did this scene.
I mean, I did it once. I'd have to do it both times.
Oh, yeah.
Beginning to feel sleepy, I closed the book. I placed the notebook by the pillow and collapsed onto the bed on my back. That day I had a dream of my past. A dream of a hot summer day. Wow, the chapters are moving faster now.
Yeah?
A train heading far away. Chapter 6.
I could hear the cry of cicadas around me.
Oh wait, wrong game.
The hot, humid air felt heavy on my skin. A row of large trees extended in front of me. There was a slide connected to a jungle gym, a swing, a tire half buried in the ground, and a sandbox. I turned around and saw a row of tall trees behind me.
I just realized that we're kind of skipping over this part, but that more or less confirms that Sachiko was basically just taking time out of work to go hallucinate a doctor's visit.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh boy.
There is not a Narasaki clinic.
Nope. And it's weird that they call it that.
Something I just realized. She meets Narasaki at the cafe, and they have coffee, and then every time she's at the doctor's office, they have coffee. Is Sachiko just going to the cafe on break, and then hallucinating and talking to herself in between cups of coffee?
Oh,
because there's always the coffee.
Oh, yeah, it's always the coffee.
I turned around and saw a row of tall trees behind me. They reminded me of cedars, but their leaves were flat and big. There was a green fence behind them, and beyond that fence there was a wide, deep ditch. I couldn't see the bottom from here, but I could tell there was a river, roughly 5 meters deep, running through it. The park area was shaped like a shortcake, situated between the ditch and the road. I wonder if this is another dream.
Whoa!
Takako let out a shout as she dashed toward me.
Oh! No.
I caught her by the armpits and lifted her up, making her stop.
No fair, tall pretty lady.
She raised one of her hands in an attempt to imitate Superman. That's not what we're playing here.
Aw.
Disappointed, she dropped her arm. Do you know who I am?
You're my bride.
That's the girl who passed by me earlier, no? A shocking realization came over Takako, making her blink a few times.
Huh? Well, that's right.
Good grief. I looked around the park, still holding Takako.
Yeah.
You have to imagine that Takako's flailing this entire time. But completely ineffectually because she is a small child.
Yo.
There were a bunch of faded toys scattered in the sandbox. I couldn't tell whether the sun, partially hidden by the mountain range, was rising or setting. The sky had a light pink hue with only a few light clouds drifting on it.
Oh, let me down. Yup. Oh.
I put her back on solid ground.
Wee. Is there a bug you like, miss? I'll catch it for you.
I don't need any insects.
Oh, then what do you want to play? Tag?
I'd rather not.
Oh, I can show you something great. Yup.
She hurried over to the swings, climbed on the right one,
Yeah.
and began swinging up and down. I followed her, but before I could reach her, she crouched down in preparation for a jump, then let go of the bars.
Yeah.
She landed on the teal bar in front of the swing, but inertia carried her too far. She began tilting forward.
Ugh. Ugh.
How many times do you want to get hurt doing this? I caught her before she hit the ground.
Aw. Thanks. I'll catch you a dragonfly in return.
I really don't want any bugs.
What? That's here.
A large insect flew past my head. Takako chased after it. I watched her disappear into the distance, then pinched my hand. It hurt a bit. When I looked back at Takako, I saw her standing in place, gazing at a certain spot. She slowly extended her arm. Her hand suddenly moved and seized something.
Yeah. Got it.
She rushed back toward me, carrying her prey. The dragonfly that flew past my head earlier now sat motionless in Takako's palm. Her fingers were holding down its wings, preventing it from moving.
I got a dragonfly.
Did you actually catch it with your bare hands?
The first time I managed to pull that off. You impressed?
You're going to give it to your friend, correct?
Yeah. You think she'll forgive me?
Don't forget to bring her the doll, too. It's important to her.
Okay.
The small Takako pulled out an insect cage from the backpack under the slide and placed the dragonfly into it. She then shoved the cage back into her backpack.
Okay, you gotta learn wing attack, alright?
She put the doll in the backpack as well. I briefly glanced at my wristwatch. It was 6 o'clock.
Hey, are you going home?
Takako asked as she returned. Yes.
Well, let's play a bit more.
I wish I could, but I have to hurry back. I feel like I was in the middle of something important. As Takako heaved a sigh of disappointment, I pinched my hand again. This time I did it a bit harder. It felt no different from last time. I looked around the park and then up at the sky. Its color was an odd mix of purple and pink, the kind I'd never seen before. Do you know how I can leave? I asked the small Takako.
Oh,
Takako shook her head.
sorry.
I suppose you wouldn't.
If you got nowhere to go, you gotta come to my house.
Takako pulled the hem of my skirt as I wondered what to do.
Hey.
I took a step toward her to avoid it getting stretched, but Takako, interpreting that as a sign of consent, began walking further. We left the park and passed the street with a tenement house at the corner, emerging on a slope stretching deep into the mountain. I spotted a thick cable car wire above it. Turning around, I noticed that the houses behind me had disappeared. Before I knew it, I was walking on a stone pavement. Is this really the right way?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I watched a cable car descend the slope. Its rear half was a box with seats and windows. It reminded me of a red tin can with wooden windows. It had various posters inside, each depicting different advertisements ranging from movies to shoe shops. The empty cable car stopped on the rotating plate and turned around. Takako grabbed one of its rails and was
Yep.
about to get in. Are we riding this?
Yeah. Although, do you have dream fare?
Takako got inside and climbed onto a long bench by the window. I sat down next to Takako and glanced in the same direction as her.
Wee.
Colorful brick and concrete houses surrounded the slope we were ascending. Their roofs lined up like stairs, serving as balconies for every higher building. Is
something the matter?
Look. Takako looked at me, then pointed at the big window at the back of the car. I could see a harbor beyond it. The slope we were ascending cleaved the western city in two, almost like Moses did the Red Sea in ancient times. Further beyond, a wide, cobalt-green sea stretched as far as the eye could see. A few vanilla-colored clouds drifted along in the blue sky above.
I went there with Sachiko the other day. We boarded a ship.
Takako pointed at the lone island in the distance. I've never been there.
Oh, really? It was fun.
Takako lowered herself down onto the bench. You're good friends.
Yeah. One time I wanted to show her my new trick with stilts, but I fell, and I scraped my leg so much, it started bleeding. She ended up taking me to the hospital.
Ah, those were pretty tall, weren't they? I should have known it was a bad idea when you needed to climb on the roof just to get on them.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry, despite all this random stuff going on, I came out perfectly fine from my childhood. No injuries that threaten me for the rest of my life, I promise.
The cable car passed under a large tree, the leaves of which cast gently flickering shadows. Takako took out the insect box from her bag and observed the dragonfly. After getting bored of that, she took out the doll and began moving its hands.
Let's play Shiritori. Squirrel.
Lettuce,
Egg.
giraffe,
Eagle.
earthworm,
Mango.
opal,
Lettuce.
egg,
Giraffe.
eagle,
Earthworm.
mango,
Opal.
lettuce.
Egg. Hey, you can't repeat them.
You lose.
Legeemo. There was. I'm trying to see if there was anything. I don't think so.
Takako leaned against me as I gazed at the scenery beyond the window. Her eyes were closed while she rocked back and forth with each bump. Are you sleeping?
No.
Is your house really that far?
Oh, don't worry about it.
We passed under a large tree, the leaves of which cast gently flickering shadows.
I went to a picnic with Sachiko.
Just you two?
Oh, Norasaki was there too. Sachiko made a lunchbox for each of us. Her egg omelet tasted really sweet because I ate it.
With that, Takako fell asleep on my shoulder. I looked out the car's front window and saw the vast cobalt blue sea in the distance. Turning around, I saw the exact same view behind us. Western buildings and trees along the sea. The only difference between the two were the colors. Looking at Takako sleeping on my shoulder, I too closed my eyes in the gently swaying car. Feeling someone shake my shoulders, I opened my eyes.
Hey, we're here.
Still half asleep, I followed Takako out of the car. There was the sound of a bell, and the cable car began turning around.
Here.
Takako pulled me by the hand. The sensations of the ground changed, and as I shook off my drowsiness, I realized we were on a mountain path surrounded by tall trees. With the leaves above us blocking out most of the light, I couldn't quite make out how far the trail extended.
We're almost there, don't worry.
After a short while, we reached a tunnel made of bricks and stones. We continued inside, the faint light behind us waning like a candle flame. The darker it got, the colder it felt inside, until it disappeared altogether.
Oh, I'm lost.
But all we did was walk in a straight line. You want to go back? Takako stopped, her hand still clutching mine.
I picked a bunch of different paths, but I no longer remember which ones.
I didn't notice at all.
What do we do now?
You have no idea where we are at all.
Well, it's dark here.
Well, it certainly is.
Not gonna lie, I'm loving the energy between adult Sachiko and shit kid Takako. It's a weird energy. I did not expect it to come up or stay for this long, but you know, that's just how it be sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, join us next time for more Narasaki.
Apparently, who is a doll?
Who is a doll? Absolutely.
Ah.
I'm glad we were able to figure that one out at least. But
Yeah. I feel like we're doing good.
all right. We're doing all right, all things considered. See you all next time. Bye.
Peace.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.